The wind howled across the surface of the forgotten planet, carrying dust and silence. Jack, a young human explorer, adjusted the visor on his helmet and looked out at the strange rocky landscape. His ship, the Wanderer, stood behind him, its engines still warm from landing. This place wasn't on any travel maps. It was marked in old records as dangerous, cursed, and not recommended for exploration. But Jack wasn't like other explorers. He didn't come to hunt treasure or claim land. He came to learn. His mission was simple: study forgotten planets and send reports back to Earth. Still, this place gave him an odd feeling, like something important waited here. Jack walked carefully through the dusty trail, the ground cracked and uneven. Giant rock spires reached into the sky, like broken fingers of a giant creature. The sky was cloudy and dim, with two suns barely peeking through. Strange birds flew overhead, watching him but staying out of reach. He came to a stop when he saw it. In the middle of the valley stood a stone platform, ancient and tall. Carvings covered its base, written in symbols he had never seen. But that wasn't what shocked him. There was a figure on the platform. A tall being, clearly alien, stood bound by chains of glowing stone. Her head was bowed, long silver hair falling over her shoulders. Her skin was smooth and a light violet-blue color. Even from a distance, Jack could see she was strong. Her arms were thick with muscle, and she wore golden armor that had cracked from time and weather. The chains wrapped around her legs, arms, and chest, connecting to the stone behind her. She didn't move. At first, Jack thought she was a statue. But then he saw her chest slowly rise and fall. She was alive. Jack stepped closer. His heart beat faster, but not from fear. Something deep inside told him this moment mattered. He reached the stone platform and looked at the carvings. He turned on his translator. The device buzzed, trying to read the ancient language. It took a moment. Then a soft voice spoke from the device. The warrior of Valora, bound by honor, cursed for rebellion, freed only by one of pure purpose. Many have tried. None have passed. Leave or suffer the curse. Jack frowned. A warrior cursed for rebellion, he whispered. He looked up at her. What did you do to deserve this? Of course, she didn't answer. Jack stepped back and sat on a broken stone nearby. He opened his pack and pulled out some water and dried food. As he ate, he kept staring at the warrior. He felt something strange, like a quiet sadness in the air. Not just silence, but loneliness. After finishing his meal, he stood again and stepped closer. He gently reached out and touched one of the chains. It was cold and heavy. The moment his fingers touched the stone, the carvings on the platform glowed faintly. He pulled back, surprised. Then the translator spoke again. You do not seek power. You do not carry weapons. You do not speak of conquest. You may proceed. Jack blinked. Proceed? Proceed with what? The chains around the warrior began to crack. One by one, they broke with loud snaps, like thunder. Dust rose from the platform. The golden armor shimmered as if waking from a long sleep. Jack stepped back, unsure whether to run or stay. Then her eyes opened. They were golden, bright like fire, and locked onto his. The warrior breathed in deeply for the first time in centuries. She looked around slowly, as if remembering the world. Then her gaze returned to Jack. She dropped to one knee. I am Sailora, she said, her voice deep and smooth. Warrior of the lost Valor Empire. I made a vow long ago. Whoever frees me, I shall serve. I give you my strength, my blade, and my life. Jack was frozen. Wait. What? No, you don't need to do that. I must, Sailora replied. My honor demands it. But I didn't free you for that. I was just curious. She stood tall, towering over him. Curiosity is a rare and powerful thing, human. It is often more honest than ambition. That is why you passed the test. And now, and yours to command. Jack's mouth opened, but he had no words. The warrior looked strong enough to break him with a single hit, but right now she looked calm, focused, free. Suddenly, this mission wasn't about collecting data anymore. It was about something much greater. The silence between Jack and Sailora stretched long after the chains had broken. The dust still floated around them. Jack's heart beat fast as he stared at the alien warrior who had just vowed to serve him. He didn't know what to say. Sailora stood tall again, looking around at the ruined platform and the wide, empty valley. She slowly raised one hand and touched her own chest, as if checking to see if her body was real. Then her gaze returned to Jack. "You are not like the others," she said. Jack blinked. "Others?" "Yes," she replied, stepping down from the platform. Her footsteps were heavy, like she had forgotten how to walk. "Many came before you. They tried to free me. Some used tools. Some tried violence. Some begged. All failed." She stopped in front of him. "You asked if I was okay." Jack scratched his head, feeling awkward. "That's kind of normal, isn't it?" "To humans, maybe," she said softly, "but not to most. They saw me as a prize. You saw me as a person." Jack looked down. "I didn't even know you were real at first." Sailora chuckled. The sound was low but calm. "Still, you passed. The chains responded only to one who had no greed, no hate, only curiosity and compassion." Jack stared at her glowing eyes. "Who put those chains on you, Sailora?" Her face grew serious. She turned away and began walking slowly across the cracked ground. "That is a long story." "I've got time," Jack replied, following her. They walked together toward a nearby cliffside, where jagged rocks formed a sort of natural seat. Sailora sat down carefully, her armor still shining under the dim twin suns. "My name is Sailora Velk," she began. "Long ago, I was a high general of the Valor Empire. We were strong, feared across many star systems, but we grew cruel. We destroyed planets for power. We called it order, but it was just control." She looked away, ashamed. "I spoke against the Empress. I refused to destroy a peaceful colony. I said it was wrong. For that, I was called a traitor." Jack sat down beside her, listening closely. "My punishment was not death," she continued. "They feared I would become a martyr. So instead, they bound me to this place, a forgotten world, a place no one would visit. They sealed me with honor magic, an oath that could only be broken by someone truly different from all who ruled back then." Jack frowned. "That's heavy." Sailora nodded. "For hundreds of years, I stood there, awake, aware, but unable to speak or move. I watched the stars change. I saw the rise and fall of ships and storms. I waited for the one who would pass the test." She looked at him again. "And that was you." Jack didn't feel like a hero. He wasn't a warrior or a leader. He was just a simple human explorer. "Why me? I didn't do anything special." Sailora shook her head. "Kindness is special. It is rare. That is what broke the chains." He stared at the ground, thinking. "So what now?" She stood up again. "Now I follow you. My vow is not light. I gave it knowing it would last forever. I serve you with my strength and my skills." Jack raised his hands quickly. "I don't want a servant." She tilted her head. "Then what do you want?" He paused. "I want to help you. You lost everything, your empire, your freedom. Maybe now it's time to take your life back." Sailora's eyes softened. For the first time, she looked not like a warrior, but like someone who had been alone for far too long. "No one has ever said that to me," she whispered. Jack smiled. "Let's start with something simple. My ship's not far. Come with me." As they walked back toward the Wanderer, the rocky wind blowing around them, Sailora looked at the ship in curiosity. "This is your vessel?" she asked. "Yeah, not very big, but she's loyal." When they reached the ship, Jack opened the ramp and motioned her inside. She hesitated, staring at the doorway. I haven't stepped inside a ship in centuries. Jack nodded. Then this can be the first step to a new story. She smiled, a real, warm smile, and stepped in. Inside, the ship was clean and small. A few tools, wires, and screens filled the cockpit. Sailora looked around in wonder, touching the metal walls gently. So much has changed. Jack walked to the control panel. Once we lift off, where do you want to go? Sailora looked out the window. I want to go home. Jack raised an eyebrow. Is it still there? I don't know, she replied. But I have to see. Maybe the past is gone, but I must face it. And now, I won't be alone. Jack nodded. Then let's find your home. The Wanderer's engines hummed softly as the ship rose from the surface of the forgotten planet. Jack sat in the pilot's seat, focused on the controls, while Sailora stood behind him, quietly watching the stars appear through the front window. Her eyes reflected the light of the galaxy above them, wide and full of thoughts. She hadn't been in space for hundreds of years. Everything looked both familiar and strange. Jack glanced over his shoulder. You okay? Sailora nodded slowly. It feels strange to be free. She touched the side of the wall gently. The stars haven't changed much, but I have. Jack leaned back a little. You're handling it better than I expected. I've had centuries to prepare, she replied. After a few moments of silence, Jack activated the navigation screen. So, where exactly was your home? Sailora stepped forward, her finger pointing at a faded sector in the edge of the galaxy. There. The core system of Valora. If anything remains of my people, it will be there. Jack frowned. That area's mostly restricted. Lots of debris. Space authorities say it's dangerous. Sailora crossed her arms. That's why I must go. If the world I once knew is gone, I have to see it for myself. Jack nodded. Then let's go see it together. He entered the coordinates, and the ship began its jump through space. A few minutes later, they entered hyperspace, stars stretching across the screen. Jack stood up and walked to the small kitchen area. Want something to eat? Sailora looked unsure. I haven't eaten in a very long time. I don't even know if I can. Jack smiled and offered her a warm protein bar. Try this. Not fancy, but it's food. She accepted it carefully and took a bite. Her eyes widened slightly. It's soft, sweet. I don't remember this taste. Jack chuckled. Well, humans made a lot of progress in food while you were sleeping. They sat at the small table, eating quietly. Sailora still looked alert, like she didn't fully trust her surroundings yet. You don't need to be so tense, Jack said gently. There's no danger here. It's not that, she replied. It's the bond. Jack raised an eyebrow. Bond. Sailora looked at him seriously. When you freed me, a connection was formed. It's part of the ancient vow. I can feel your presence. I can even sense your emotions a little. Jack blinked. Wait, are you saying you can read my mind? Not your thoughts, she said. Only your feelings. Right now, I feel confusion. And something else. Kindness. Jack looked away, a bit embarrassed. I guess that makes sense. I didn't mean to form a bond. I just wanted to help. That's exactly why it worked, Sailora replied. Your intentions were pure. Just then, the ship shook slightly. An alert appeared on the screen. Incoming ship DTKTE. Jack jumped to his feet. What now? He rushed back to the cockpit, and Sailora followed him. A small dark ship was approaching fast. It had no visible markings. That's not a regular patrol, Sailora said, narrowing her eyes. That's a hunter-class ship. A hunter? Jack asked. Yes, she said. Someone's following us. The enemy ship activated a scan beam, flashing across the Wanderer. Jack tapped the comms. This is a civilian ship, he said. We don't want trouble. No reply. A warning message appeared. Prepare to be boarded. Jack stared at the screen. This can't be good. Sailora stepped forward and touched his shoulder. Let me handle it. Jack looked up at her. What are you going to do? She walked to the rear of the ship, where the emergency armor storage was. Inside was only basic human protective gear, but she ignored it. Instead, she stood still. Her eyes glowed brighter. Then she raised her arms, and a shimmer of ancient energy moved across her skin. Her armor, once cracked and faded, began to pulse. It repaired itself, piece by piece, shining like gold once again. Jack watched in shock. Is that magic? Sailora replied calmly. It's my birthright. The ship rocked again as the enemy attached to their hull. The hatch began to open. 3 armored invaders stepped inside. Their weapons were raised. They looked more alien than human, sharp-faced and aggressive. Before Jack could react, Sailora moved like lightning. She grabbed the first one, flipped him over, and slammed him into the wall. The second raised his blaster, but she kicked it from his hand and struck him with a single punch. The third tried to retreat, but Sailora pinned him to the floor with her foot. Jack stood frozen, jaw dropped. She turned to him calmly. They were scouts. Someone knows I've returned. The final invader, now trembling, looked up. The Empress. She knew this day would come. Sailora leaned closer. Then let her know. I am awake. The captured invader sat tied in the back of the Wanderer. His helmet had been removed, revealing a pale, thin face with sharp eyes and gray skin. He kept staring at Sailora as if he had seen a ghost. Jack paced slowly near the control panel, still trying to understand everything that had just happened. Who are these guys? Sailora stood with her arms crossed. Her golden armor now shone brightly, fully repaired and humming with power. She answered without looking away from the prisoner. They are agents of the High Circle, a secret group that grew strong after I was sealed away. They feared I would return. Jack frowned. Why would they be afraid of you? I thought your empire collapsed. It did, Sailora said, but the High Circle rose from its ashes. They took control of the remains and built something worse, a shadow empire. Quiet, controlling, ruthless. Jack looked at the tied invader. So they sent scouts to check if the legend was true. The prisoner spoke, his voice cold. The moment your chains broke, the signal activated. Silent alarms reached the far stars. The High Circle knows. They always knew someone would try. Sailora stepped forward. Tell them this, I am no longer bound, and I will find what's left of my people. The prisoner sneered. You won't find anything. Your world is ash. Sailora didn't flinch. Then I'll walk through the ash. Jack pressed a few buttons and brought up a star map. We should keep moving. If they know where we are, they'll send more than scouts next time. Sailora nodded. Set a course for the Valora core system. Jack did as she asked, and the Wanderer jumped back into hyperspace. The stars stretched once again, but this time the silence in the ship felt heavier. Later, Jack sat at the table in the ship's kitchen, sipping from a metal cup. Sailora joined him, her expression thoughtful. You've changed, he said. She raised an eyebrow. How? When I first met you, you were quiet, uncertain. Now you move like a leader again. Sailora looked down at her hands. Waking up after centuries, it was strange. My body was weak. My mind was tired. But when I felt danger, I remembered who I was. A general. A protector. Jack nodded slowly. That was impressive, what you did back there. I'm not proud of fighting, she replied, but I will protect those who stand beside me. That includes you now. He looked up at her. Why me? Because you freed me, she said softly. But more than that, you believed I should choose my own path. That's a rare thing. The silence between them turned calm. But their peace didn't last long. An alarm flashed across the screen. Object detected. Wreckage field ahead. Jack rushed to the cockpit and stared out the window. Floating ahead was a massive field of destroyed ships, broken stations, and shattered metal. It looked like the remains of a great battle. This was it, Sailora said behind him. The last war. The map confirmed it. They had arrived near what used to be the capital system of Valora. But it was no longer a home. It was a graveyard. Can we go around it? Jack asked. Sailora shook her head. We must go through. My old command post is in the center. If it still exists, we'll find answers there. Jack nodded and carefully guided the wanderer through the wreckage. They moved slowly, weaving between broken ships and floating debris. Sailora stared out the window with quiet pain in her eyes. These ships were once full of life, she said. My friends, my soldiers. Jack remained quiet, respecting her memory. Suddenly, the scanner beeped. Power signature detected. Active energy source nearby. Jack looked confused. Something's still alive in here. Sailora narrowed her eyes. Show me. The signal came from a small, hidden station deep within the wreckage. Jack moved the ship closer. The station looked old but still active. Faint lights glowed on its surface. As they docked, Jack grabbed a flashlight, and Sailora summoned her energy blade. Ready? She asked. Not really, Jack admitted. But let's go. They entered the station. The halls were dark and dusty. Old banners of the Valora Empire still hung on the walls, faded but proud. Sailora moved slowly, remembering every step. This place was once filled with voices, laughter, plans. Now, only echoes. They reached the control room, where a flickering screen turned on by itself. A hologram appeared. It was an older alien male, dressed in royal armor. His face was tired, but noble. Sailora, the message said. If you're hearing this, then the chains are broken. We knew the time would come. The High Circle may have won the war, but they will never kill hope. If you find this, lead again. We left something for you in the vault. The hologram faded. Sailora stood frozen. Jack asked softly, what's in the vault? She looked at him with determination. The future. The vault. The words echoed in Jack's mind as he watched Sailora stand motionless, staring at the faded hologram. The image of the old Valora commander had disappeared, leaving only a lingering sense of urgency in the air. What is the vault? Jack asked softly, stepping closer to her. Sailora's voice was barely a whisper. It's a hidden facility, a place where my people stored their most important knowledge. Technology, artifacts, plans, the key to rebuilding. But it was sealed away after the fall of the Empire, in case the High Circle found it. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. So, we need to find it. She nodded slowly. Yes, if we want to stand against the High Circle, we must use what's left. We can't rebuild an empire, but we can change the balance. Jack was about to speak when the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the station. They both froze. Sailora's eyes flashed with warning, and her energy blade hummed to life. I'll handle this, she said, moving toward the door. No, Jack whispered, stepping in front of her. Let's see who it is first. We need to know what's going on. Sailora hesitated but then nodded. Fine, but if it's enemies, we fight. Jack took a deep breath and approached the door, slowly pressing the button to open it. A figure stepped through, a woman, tall with dark green skin and sharp, intelligent eyes. She was dressed in simple but practical armor, not unlike Sailora's, and her movements were cautious but confident. I'm not here to fight, the woman said, holding her hands up. I came to warn you. Jack glanced at Sailora, who still held her blade in a ready stance, but didn't move to attack. Warn us? Jack asked. Who are you? The woman lowered her hands. My name is Kayla. I was once a scientist in the Valora Empire. After the fall, I joined the underground. I've been tracking the High Circle for years. And why should we trust you? Sailor's voice was icy. Kayla's eyes softened slightly. Because we have the same enemy. I know you're looking for the vault. I can help you find it. Jack stepped forward. How? Kayla stepped closer. Sailor's voice was sharp. Where is it? Kayla pointed toward a nearby map on the wall. In the heart of the ruins. It's deep within the city, past the old palace. Jack studied the map and nodded. Let's go then. We don't have much time. Kayla's eyes met Sailor's. You're not the same as you once were. I can see it in your eyes. But you still have what it takes to lead. The High Circle won't stop until they've crushed every last bit of resistance. Sailor's jaw clenched, but she didn't respond. Instead, she turned to Jack. Let's get the key. As they prepared to leave, Kayla joined them, guiding them out of the station and back to the ship. The Wanderer was still docked outside, waiting for them. The trip to the ruined capital city was tense. The stars outside the ship's windows were quiet, but Jack knew something was coming. The High Circle wasn't going to let them simply walk in and take what they wanted. They would fight for it. When they arrived, they found the city was nothing more than a shadow of its former self. Once magnificent buildings now lay in ruins, broken and abandoned. The streets were empty, but the echoes of history seemed to call out to Sailora. Her home, her people were gone, reduced to rubble. This was the heart of the empire, Sailora said, her voice low. And now it's just a graveyard. Kayla led them through the streets, careful not to make a sound. They entered the palace ruins, and Sailora's gaze lingered on the place where the throne had once stood. It was empty now, just a reminder of everything that had been lost. We need to move quickly, Kayla whispered. The key is in the underground vault. It's hidden beneath the throne room. Jack looked at Sailora. Are you ready? She gave him a determined nod. We don't turn back now. As they descended into the dark, the quiet was broken only by the sound of their footsteps. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the air became. The High Circle's traps were close. Suddenly, a loud metallic clang rang through the vault. We're not alone, Kayla muttered. Jack's heart raced as he and Sailora took their positions, prepared to face whatever threat awaited them. The echo of their footsteps rang through the underground vault. The air was thick with dust and an unsettling quiet. Jack's eyes scanned the dark stone walls, trying to make out any movement, but all he could hear was the faint hum of the ship's power systems and the slow breath of Sailora beside him. Stay sharp, Sailora whispered, her golden armor gleaming faintly in the dim light of their flashlights. We don't know what traps are still active. Jack nodded, his hand resting lightly on the blaster at his side. Kayla, who had been leading the way, stopped abruptly and held up her hand. She motioned for them to stay silent. Someone's here, Kayla said in a low voice, her eyes scanning the darkness ahead. They've already triggered the first layer of defenses. Jack looked down the hallway ahead. What kind of defenses? A mix of old tech and magic, Kayla answered. Valora didn't just rely on their weapons. They had knowledge of energy fields, time manipulation, and psychic barriers. The High Circle would have activated everything to keep people like us out. Sailora stepped forward, her presence steady and calm. Then let's break through. Kayla shook her head. We need to be careful. I've seen entire teams lost to these traps. One wrong move, and the whole place could collapse. Let's make sure that doesn't happen, Jack said. We'll stick together. They continued down the dark, narrow corridor, keeping their footsteps quiet. As they neared the end of the hall, Jack could feel the air change, thicker, colder. He could sense the tension rising in Sailora as she tensed beside him. This place was ancient, and it held the weight of lost civilizations. At the end of the hall, a large door loomed before them. Covered in dust and years of neglect, it was adorned with intricate patterns and glowing symbols that seemed to pulse in time with the beating of his heart. This is it, Kayla whispered. The throne room and the key. She stepped forward, placing her hand against the door. The symbols flared brightly for a moment. and the door slowly creaked open. Beyond, the throne room stood in ruin. A large broken chair stood in the center of the room, surrounded by shattered columns. The walls were lined with broken statues, once proud, now fallen. This was the heart of Sailara's empire, a place that had once been filled with the power of 1,000 voices. Now it was silent, empty, just a memory of what had been. Sailara stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room. Her face was unreadable, a mix of sorrow and resolve. She had once stood here as a leader, surrounded by her people. Now she was alone, with nothing but dust and stone. "The key," Kayla murmured, pointing toward the far wall, where a small pedestal stood. On it rested a crystal, glowing faintly with an inner light. Jack moved toward it slowly, but Sailara stopped him. "Wait," she said, her voice tense. "Something's wrong." Before Jack could ask, a loud hiss filled the room. The air shimmered, and a wall of energy shot up, trapping them inside. The room was now sealed, and the trap was sprung. "Damn it," Jack cursed. "We're locked in." Kayla quickly moved to a control panel on the wall, trying to disable the energy field. "This was the final defense. I knew it would come, but it's too strong." "We need the key," Sailara shouted. "The crystal is the only way to disable this." Jack turned to the pedestal and rushed to it. He grabbed the crystal carefully, feeling the strange energy flow through his fingers. It was warm, alive. The moment he touched it, the entire room seemed to pulse with energy. "Now what?" Jack asked. Sailara stood tall, her eyes focused. "Place it in the center. It will activate the system, but we must be ready." Kayla stepped back, watching as Jack placed the crystal on the floor, its energy flickering. A low hum filled the air, and the walls began to glow with golden light. The energy field around them flickered, but it didn't disappear. "This isn't it," Kayla said, her voice trembling. "The system is still active." Suddenly, the walls seemed to close in. The ground beneath them trembled, and the entire room began to shift. A cold voice echoed through the chamber, filling the air with dread. "You seek the key. You seek to challenge the High Circle. But you are too late. This world is ours, and it will remain ours." The energy walls shifted again, and figures appeared in the shadows, soldiers of the High Circle. Their faces were hidden behind masks, but their presence was powerful and terrifying. Jack's heart raced. They were surrounded. Sailara stepped forward, her energy blade crackling with power. "We will not bow. Not to you." Kayla reached for a small device in her pocket, activating a shield around them. "We have to fight. We have no choice." Jack drew his blaster, his hand steady. "Let's finish this." The soldiers of the High Circle charged. The battle was fierce and fast. Sailara moved like lightning, her blade cutting through their ranks. Jack fired his blaster with precision, covering her as she fought. Kayla worked quickly, her technology shielding them from the worst of the energy attacks. But the enemy was endless. "We need to end this now," Kayla shouted. Sailara's eyes blazed with determination. "We finish what we started." With a single powerful strike, Sailara cut through the leader of the High Circle soldiers. The remaining enemies hesitated, and the shield began to collapse. Jack saw the opening. Now, he and Sailara fought side by side, pushing through the last of the soldiers. The power of the vault's energy shifted, and the High Circle's forces fell back. As the last of them retreated, the energy walls flickered once more and then vanished. Sailara stood victorious, breathing heavily. "It's done." Jack nodded, his heart still pounding. "Not quite. We still have to see what's in the vault." The room fell silent. The sounds of battle faded away, replaced by the soft hum of the vault systems coming back online. Jack wiped the sweat from his brow and surveyed the scene. The last of the High Circle soldiers had retreated, leaving nothing but the remnants of their shattered ranks. Sailara stood in the center of the room, her energy blade still crackling faintly. Her golden armor glinted in the soft light of the vault's control panels. She looked like a warrior reborn, but there was something deeper in her eyes, something that wasn't there before. "The vault is ours now," she said, her voice steady but filled with a sense of finality. Jack moved to her side, feeling the weight of the moment. "It's hard to believe. I thought we'd be facing an army, not just a handful of soldiers." Kayla, who had been busy checking the control systems, turned to them. "The High Circle never expected you to make it this far. They thought they could crush hope, but you proved them wrong." Celara glanced at her, her expression thoughtful. "They were wrong to underestimate humanity." Jack nodded. "We've been underestimated for a long time." Kayla approached the central console and began typing commands. "The vault has more than just technology. There's knowledge here, ancient wisdom from the Valora. It could change the balance of power in the galaxy." Celara stepped forward. "Then let's find out what's inside." The console flickered, and a hidden door slid open, revealing a darkened chamber filled with metallic shelves and mysterious devices. Jack's eyes widened as he stepped inside. He wasn't sure what to expect, but this place felt different from the rest of the ruined city. It felt alive, like it had been waiting for someone to come and unlock its secrets. As they moved deeper into the room, the air seemed to shimmer with energy. The walls were lined with strange artifacts, glowing softly with an otherworldly light. Jack could sense the power that these objects held. But more than that, he could feel a deep sense of history, of things lost and forgotten. Celara reached out, her hand brushing over one of the ancient devices. "These are the remnants of my people, the ones who dreamed of a better future." Jack turned to her. "And now you get to see it. Your people's legacy." She nodded. "This is more than just a place to hide. It's a reminder that we never truly lost." Kayla walked toward a large, glowing crystal in the center of the room. "This is it, the heart of the vault. It holds the key to the knowledge we need to fight back." Celara's gaze turned sharp. "The High Circle will stop at nothing to keep this from us. We must move quickly." Jack approached the crystal, his curiosity piqued. "What exactly is it? What can it do?" Kayla looked up, her eyes filled with awe. "It's an energy source unlike anything we've ever seen. It holds the power to fuel entire star systems. But more than that, it contains data, maps, histories, and strategies from the old empire. The High Circle fears it because it could give us the tools we need to rise again." Celara stepped closer to the crystal, her hand hovering just above it. "This could change everything." Jack watched her carefully. "So what now?" "We use it." She hesitated, then shook her head. "Not yet. First, we need to unlock its full potential. We need to understand how to wield its power." Kayla nodded. "There's more to this than just tapping into the crystal's energy. We need the knowledge to use it wisely. If we rush, we could make things worse." Jack stood back, his mind racing. The weight of their discovery was sinking in. They had come here to uncover the past, but what they had found was something far more powerful. It wasn't just the end of one empire. It was the beginning of a new one. "Let's take our time," Jack said, his voice firm. "We can't afford to make mistakes. The High Circle will come for us." Celara turned to him, her eyes filled with resolve. "Then we'll be ready." The room seemed to hum louder, as if the crystal itself was reacting to their words. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the tension in the air. They had unlocked a treasure trove of knowledge, but they were far from safe. As the three of them gathered around the console, the crystal began to glow brighter. Its light spread across the room, casting long shadows on the walls. The air was thick with the energy of the vault, and Jack could feel a strange pull, as if the knowledge contained within the crystal was reaching out to him. Kayla's fingers danced across the controls, activating the system. A series of holograms appeared in the air, displaying star maps, blueprints, and ancient writings. "This is it," Kayla said, her voice filled with wonder. "This is everything we need to rebuild." Celara stepped forward, her eyes scanning the holograms. We won't rebuild what was lost. We'll build something new." Jack watched as the two women studied the ancient technology. He knew they were on the edge of something monumental, something that could change the fate of the galaxy. But it wasn't just about power. It was about justice. And for the first time in a long while, Jack felt a sense of purpose.